Chairperson, Di Madakwane, Molweni, goeienaand. President Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa, colleagues, comrades and fellow South Africans. Now is the time to lend a hand. That was the clarion call of the President in the historic speech on Friday night. From the side of the ANC, we say, now is the time to lend a hand in the fight against crime, corruption, and the looting of state resources. We say, Mr. President, we agree. Now is the time to restore confidence in the public institutions and state agencies in the criminal justice system. Now is the time to lend a hand. In his speech, the President said the following, and we quote, "This is the year in which we will turn the tide of corruption in our public institutions. The criminal justice institutions have been taking initiatives that will enable us to deal effectively with corruption." Close quote. The President also made the important point that the Commission on State Capture is not displacing the regular work of the country's law enforcement agencies in investigating and prosecuting all acts of corruption. The ANC fully supports the statement of our President. The primary constitutional and legislative duty of the SAPs, including the DPCI, the NPA, including the Asset Forfeiture Unit, SIU and FIC and others who deal with investigations relating to crime, corruption, money laundering, organized crime and tender fraud, should be executed with diligence and speed. The President, in his capacity as President of the ANC, said the following in the January 8 statement in East London, and I quote, "Strong and efficient law enforcement agencies are critical to the fight against corruption and crime generally, and to the restoration of the integrity and legitimacy of the state. In this regard, the ANC is of the firm view that the country's intelligence services, the police, and prosecutorial authorities should be strengthened and fortified to act with professionalism and without fear, favor, or prejudice. Chairperson, we need in the first instance leaders, women and men of integrity in the said institutions who are beyond reproach, fit and proper persons who subscribe to the values of Act 108 of 1996, the Constitution, and can make decisions without fear, favor, or prejudice. They must indeed be able to pass the through the eye of the needle test. If there are compromised individuals in these critical posts, they should leave voluntarily and immediately or be removed by the relevant executive authorities in terms of the applicable rules and legislative prescripts. We need talented and patriotic South Africans appointed in these key posts who will act in the interest of the Republic and not at the behest of dubious commercial or private interests or dither due to other pressures. The post of the head of the Hawks and the head of crime intelligence was advertised in the Sunday newspapers 2 weeks ago. We need South Africans with integrity, vision, skills and professionalism to fill these vacancies. Secondly, we need to move with speed to amend outdated legislation like the SAPS Act of 1995 to strengthen law enforcement in the Republic but also civilian oversight. Thirdly, the founding fathers and mothers of our Constitution, and our President of the Republic is indeed a profound founding father of our Constitution, in their wisdom made provision for independent oversight institutions distinct from the legislature who should oversee law enforcement agencies. Mr. President, we should also consider additional measures to further strengthen institutions like the Inspector General for Intelligence and the Independent Police Investigative Directorate and the DPCI. Madam Speaker, now is the time also for the commissioners, DPPs and heads of institutions to stand up and be counted in the fight against crime, corruption and state capture. From the side of the ANC, we say step up your efforts to deal with corruption. Our people want to see that perpetrators of crime who plundered the state coffers are arrested and prosecuted in the relevant foreign courts. Our law enforcement agencies should interact with Interpol and their counterparts in other jurisdictions to ensure that all fugitives with relation to state capture are apprehended and brought to book. 2018 is the year of the first President of the Republic, President Nelson Mandela. I want to quote from his 3-hour speech on 20 April 1964 from the dock of the Rivonia trial. And I quote, "The time comes in the life of any nation when there remain only two choices, submit or fight. The time has now come to South Africa. We shall not submit, and we have no choice but to hit back by all means in our power in defense of our people, our future, and our freedom. Close quote. Chairperson, we are at the same crossroads. The fight in 2018 is against crime and corruption. We cannot submit to crime, corruption, and state capture. We must hit back to ensure that the values enshrined in our Constitution prevails. Chairperson, from an international perspective, the most significant crime threat to the countries, including South Africa, in the next 10 years will be cybercrime. The Hawks need to ensure that the capacity and training of staff for the Cybercrime Centre be prioritized during the financial year. The law enforcement environment is a fast-changing and evolving era. Criminals have adapted to and embraced the technological advantages of the 21st century. The South African Banking Risk Information Centre estimate that the country loses 2.2 billion to internet fraud and phishing attacks annually. That's about 5.5 million rand a day. According to the Norton's Cybersecurity Insight reports, over 8.8 million South Africans were the target of online cybercrime in 2016. We must plan and prepare for the future. Chairperson, serious organized crime and serious corruption is a real and imminent danger to the basic foundations of our constitutional state, and building a resilient anti-corruption system is critical. Fighting corruption requires an anti-corruption system that is well-resourced, operates freely from political interference, and has the support of all citizens. The National Planning Commission, of which the Honourable President was the Vice Chairperson, proposed the following. 1. Strengthen the multi-agency anti-corruption system. Strengthen the protection of whistleblowers. Greater central oversight over the awarding of tenders with long duration, and empower the Tender Compliance Monitoring Office to investigate corruption. The current multi-agency anti-corruption system must be strengthened by better cooperation and the setting of well-defined targets to be achieved as outcomes. The President emphasized on Friday evening that we must fight corruption, fraud and collusion in the private sector with the same purpose and intensity. Our law enforcement agencies, with specific reference to the DPCI and the Commercial Crime Detective Unit of SAPS, must further develop the necessary capacity and expertise to deal with complex private sector crime investigations. We welcome the investigation launched by the DPCI into the Steinhoff matter and other private sector related cases. We need to see prosecution-driven investigations. We need to see arrests. We need to see successful prosecutions. Economic crimes in the private sector that robs millions of South Africans from their hard-earned savings and pension fund investments should never be tolerated. We need to deal decisively with pertinent organized crimes like illegal mining, illicit flows, illegal cigarette smuggling that cost the national fiscus billions and probably billions of rand of revenue. The NDP is very clear on page 391. We must re-establish the unit staffed with tightly trained and professional police officers to respond to changing crime trends such as narcotics, cybercrime, human trafficking, crime against women and children, and international crime syndicates. Close quote. We agree with other speakers who indicated that we must move faster with the establishment of the National Policing Board that is provided for in the National Development Plan. Chairperson, we must restore the confidence of our people in our institutions by taking strong and decisive action against those who act contrary to the law and the Constitution. Over the past week or two, several current senior and former South African police officials have been subjected to court processes in the country. Some pleaded guilty on corruption-related charges. Others were sentenced for long prison terms, while others must still offer their pleas in related court cases. The ANC condemns any act of criminality by any members of the law enforcement agencies, more so those committed by senior SAPS and justice officials. We expect from senior officers and officials to lead in the fight against crime. We welcome ongoing efforts by law enforcement agencies to deal with corrupt officials in their midst, but we need more urgency and decisiveness. Mr. President, other speakers also referred to the issue of the immediate implementation of compulsory lifestyle audits and continuous integrity testing, apart from normal vetting procedures for senior officers and officials across the criminal justice system is the only way to go. The new National Commissioner have committed himself last week to implement lifestyle audits for all senior SAPS management by the end of March 2018. We need to spread this across the criminal justice cluster as a matter of priority. The President of the Republic indicated in his speech that the community policing strategy will be implemented with the aim of gaining the trust of the community and to secure their full involvement in the fight against crime. We echo these sentiments today. The National Development Plan sets out the increased community participation in safety. Civil society organizations and civic participation are essential elements of a safe and secure society. Street committees, neighborhood watches, patrollers, plaaswagte, and bambananis should all form of a collective effort at local level to increase the safety of our communities. Now is the time to lend a hand. We welcome the introduction of a youth crime prevention strategy that will empower and support young people to be self-sufficient and become involved in crime-fighting initiatives. The school safety and campus safety program should be expanded, and the ownership of these initiatives should be with scholars, teachers, students, lecturers, and parents. The President indicated that the distribution of resources to police station level will be a major focus in 2018. From the side of the ANC, we say that the deep rural stations, as well as those in growing informal settlements and new developments, should be prioritized. All police stations in the Republic, wherever they are, should have the same ability and capability to deal with complaints of our people, whether they are in Sibasa, Seapoint, Springbok, or Sebokeng. We agree with the President when he says that the necessary personnel are needed to restore capacity and experience, especially in the crime hotspot areas of the country. Now is the time to lend a hand. Voorsitter, ons moet die beste stasiebevelvoerders en operasionele bevelvoerders in gemeenskappe ontplooi waar die gesag van die staat uitgedaag word, sodat ons mense nie die spreekwoordelike gevangenes van bendeleiers en misdaadsyndikaate word nie. Of waar kinders dit nie kan waag om skool toe of winkel toe te loop weens die kruisvuur van strydende misdaadgroepe nie. Ons mense moet nie uitgelewer word aan die base van smokkelhuise en dwelmbaronne nie, maar deur die betrokkenheid van gemeenskapsleiers, kerke, moskees, skole en vrywillige organisasies, saam met die polisie, woonbuurte en nedersettings, plekke van veiligheid en lewenskwaliteit maak. Gemeenskapspolisieeringsforums moet effektief en tersaakelik word as 'n menvuldiger in die stryd teen misdaad. Enige misdaadvoorkoming en bestrydingsaksie is afhanklik van goeie intelligensie. Chairperson, intelligence-driven policing is essential to deal with the primary source of crime. The turnaround strategy to restore the Crime Intelligence Division of the SAPS as a credible and real-time provider of intelligence products should be fast-tracked and closely monitored. Their core business should be to conduct intelligence operations to address prioritized crime threats and provide intelligence products in support of policing activities. The ANC welcomes the recent high-profile arrests by the DPCI focusing on corruption allegations at different levels of government and those linked to state capture. We want to applaud the DPCI for their swift and decisive action. The DPCI needs the support from all law-abiding citizens, and we want to call on members of the public to assist with any relevant information that may assist in the solving of priority crime cases. I thank you very much. Kia leboga.